Hello, Carl here with Sustainability Theory News. We're over at Osaka City University. They have a new study on how to recycle plastic bags more efficiently. They're using a metal that's in the platinum family and using it as a catalyst in a chemical reaction that's below 200 degrees Celsius and pretty low pressure considering. So it saves about 20% of the energy previously used to recycle these plastics. And it gets about 90% plus of the material recycled into useful materials. Now, what is the name of it? It's ruthenium, I believe it is. Ruthenium, metal and platinum family, and then cerium dioxide, which is used to polish glass, allows for 100 degrees Kelvin difference in the temperature needed to process and recycle these plastics. Not perfect, still requires a lot of heat and energy to recycle these plastics, but this is the most common form of plastic there is, against plastic shopping bags and food packages. Maybe about 20 more of these breakthroughs and plastic recycling will really be in a very efficient position. All right, we're at the next study, Oregon State University, combining solar energy and agriculture to mitigate climate change and assist rural communities. It talks about using 1% of the annual U.S. budget through corporate and private investments and some reimbursements through tax incentives, rebates, and whatnot to create a massive system of photovoltaics to generate 20% of our total electricity generation, and it's on about 1% of our current farmland right here. Now, some of the numbers just don't add up. They say the total investment will be 1.12 trillion over 35 years, and they expect to get a 17-year payback. But over the whole lifespan, it's only generating 35.7 billion in revenue. Maybe they mean profit. I'm not sure where those numbers are coming from, but it's certainly an interesting idea. Marginal farmland or small niche farms could certainly benefit from this, especially if they're near high tension transmission lines or in an area that has low annual cloud cover. As you can see, if you just space out the solar panels a little bit further, you can get some row crops in there. Peppers, tomatoes, and whatnot, or have some sheep foraging for grasses. You couldn't do goats in here, though, because they climb up all over the solar panels and break all the glass. And you couldn't really do corn. It's too tall. Can't do soybeans much either. While they aren't very tall, the machines harvesting them moves a lot of dust around. It's going to cover those solar panels pretty quickly. And, machines are pretty big. You'd have to have pretty large gaps between the panels. But smaller scale farms, this could be a pretty good solution. All right, next story. We're over at the Permaculture Research Institute, and they have 8 essential items for chickens to survive the winter. Now, you're going to want to get a breed of chickens that are bred for colder climates. That's one of the first things. Get good genetics. They also talk about good, nutritious food. They need a good amount of food to help keep up their energy levels. It might also help keep the eggs being laid. They slow down in wintertime oftentimes. I've also heard of people putting chili oil or, chili flakes in the water to make it seem like it's a little warmer than it is. I haven't tried that yet. Petroleum jelly, that's to cover the little crown or comb that's on the top of chickens, especially roosters. Protected from wind burn, frostbite, that sort of thing. Also talks about good, clean straw. They like it for their bedding materials. They like it in the nesting boxes. They also especially like it for their walking pathways. They don't like to walk in the snow many times. Another one of their point talks about tarps. We'll get to that in a minute. Temperature and humidity monitor. If you use the straw, you can create what's called a deep bedding, deep mulching. You can also use wood chips, and basically a mulching layer a couple feet thick at least, and pretty wide. It'll start to compost and break down and generate heat, help keep it warm in the wintertime, but it's also going to put out a lot of moisture. A lot of people want to seal off their chicken coops in the wintertime, keep the wind down. But if you seal it completely and use the deep bedding, the humidity levels could rise drastically. You could get some condensation buildup, say, on the ceiling or roof of the chicken coop, and it drips down on the chickens. You don't want the chickens to be cold and wet. A lot of times they can handle cold if their feathers are dry. And so having a temperature and humidity monitor can help. Adding a roost. I like to use the 2x4s turned sideways, or 1x1s or whatnot. A good square roost. A lot of experts say the nice round sticks like the one in the picture puts a lot of stress. It's pretty hard for the chicken to sit on that and sleep on it. But if you have a 2x4, it's a nice flat surface, and my chickens love it. They all huddle up on there, and they're all sleeping there at night, except for maybe one or two of them. And next step, tarp for an outdoor area. You can also use, say, a piece of greenhouse plastic, make a little hoop house next to their coop, so they have an area to walk around in. Maybe you put the feed in there. Maybe you have a nice diatomaceous earth dust bath for them. You can use, like they mentioned, a tarp. Right now, there was a rainstorm coming in. I put up one of those capping 10 by 10 canopies. I used it at the farmer's market years ago, but it was just sitting around. It helped keep the chickens dry when it has had some winter rain coming in. All right, so chicken waterers. You want to prevent the water from freezing. I think I have a 45-watt water heater, keeps the water above freezing, and also provides a heat source to the chicken coop, so it keeps the chickens just a little bit warmer. And you kind of make sure their water's fresh and they have plenty of it. You don't want to deprive them of water, that's for sure, certainly not in the wintertime. And they talk about nesting boxes. They help keep the eggs from freezing, which can crack the eggs, make them unusable. So those are some of the tips on how to keep chickens warm in the wintertime. Remember, keep a good eye on them. Watch for sickness. Last story, square the corners of your farm with a land survey. Surveys are somewhat complicated. You have to have some special equipment. You can usually get the boundary markers on what's called the legal description written in your land deed, sometimes in the public records data of your local county government office. You can get it right on their website sometimes. But if you look at the legal description, it's really, really difficult to understand. And that's why surveyors get paid the big bucks. But it's a good idea to get a survey done and to talk with your neighbors, especially if you're going to be putting up fence lines for foraging animals. You're going to maybe plant a tree line on the property line, or a line of shrubs, blueberries, service berries, hazelnuts, that sort of thing. You want to get right on that property line, or a few feet over. That way you can walk around the bushes and harvest them and still stay on your property. And maybe you want a walking trail on the other side of your fence line, so maybe you want the fence line 5-10 feet away from the property line. Maybe that might seem a little confusing, so might as well just put the fence line right there on the property line. Talk with your neighbors, look at your local restrictions and regulations, see what you can get away with. But having a map of your land is incredibly important. You can squeeze out every square feet of productivity possible, but you gotta know where those field markers are. And with extremely precise GPS equipment, a survey can be done in a day, and usually takes a few weeks after that to get the reports done. I'm going to link to these articles in the description. If you like what you've seen, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, leave a comment below, tell me why. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please leave that in the comments below, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Have a great day.